Hello people and welcome to another One Piece video of mine. Today I'm going to be talking about Goldie Roger, both before and after he became King of the Pirates. Now there's a lot of information about the Pirate King sprinkled throughout the series, but because One Piece is so long, and that information is not just in one specific arc that you can read and reread, keeping track of all that information can get a little bit tricky at times. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about the story points that matter to me the most about Roger's life and Roger's journey, and then I'm going to try to connect them with the current storyline. Okay, so let's start with the basics. Roger is a D. He has a D in his name. He carries the will of D. He's part of the family of D of ancient times, I believe. His first recruit, the first person that he recruited to join his crew was Rayleigh, much like Luffy recruited Zoro. By that time he was already wearing the infamous straw hat, which will later be passed down to Luffy. Where he got the straw hat, we don't know. But I'm pretty sure that if we were to figure out where Roger got his straw hat, who gave it to him, and what its significance is, I'm pretty sure that we would get one step closer to finding out the truth about why there's a giant frozen straw hat in Marijoa. Now we also know that Roger's initial goal, before he decided to embark on this journey and sail the seas, was, and I quote, to turn the world upside down. That's what he tells Rayleigh when he recruits him, and eventually you can kind of say that he was successful in doing that because he started a brand new pirate era due to his last words. Now there's a lot of similarities between Roger's character and Luffy's character, to the point where you could even say that Luffy is kind of like a parallel to Roger, but there's also some differences. The first major difference is that, unlike Luffy, Roger was actually sick. In fact, I'm actually willing to bet that he was sick throughout most of his adventure. And we know that Roger recruited Crocus, to board his ship so that he could expand or try to do whatever he could to sort of prolong his lifespan, because the disease was serious. It was an incurable thing that nobody could do anything about. Only Crocus, who at the time was the best doctor around. So that's why they got him to join, to sort of use his medical expertise to prolong Captain Roger's life. But Roger was, just not in good health. Now the reason for why I think it's important to know that Roger was sick, in addition to just sort of speculating and thinking about how much of a beast he would have actually been if he was actually at full health and he didn't have this sickness, is that I think that it heavily foreshadows Luffy also getting an incurable illness at some point in the story. And there's two major points of foreshadowing as to why I think that. The first one is Chopper's goal. If you remember, Chopper's dream is that he wants to become a great doctor that can cure any disease, okay? And so I think it's fairly obvious that in order for this dream, this goal to become true at some point, Chopper is going to have to cure something that is thought to be incurable. So I do think that Luffy will be the one to contract that illness or that disease simply because of how much impact it would have on the story. The second point of foreshadowing is Usopp's story. So when Usopp's mom dies, when she's in her deathbed, Usopp at that point, he just makes up stuff. He lies, but it's been proven throughout the story that Usopp's lies actually become true. And one of the things he says as he's looking down on his mother with tears in his eyes is that there is a medicine somewhere out there in the world that can cure any disease. So I'm pretty sure that that's also a point of foreshadowing for Luffy to get sick and then be healed by this magical medicine and by Chopper's expertise. So I think that parallel will be different this time around for sure. Another thing that's vastly different, all right, is the journey. Roger's journey, the road that Roger took to become King of the Pirates is significantly different than the one that Luffy is taking right now. And the reason for that is this. In Zou, Nami has a moment of confusion because they learned about the road poneglyphs, the 4 red poneglyphs that they need to sort of find the intersection in order to understand where Raftel is. And so she asks Inuarashi, hold up, I'm a little bit confused here because I've noticed that we have not been following the log poses for a long time. Like these arrows that we have, we haven't been following them, for a while now. Like we just go to the next island because we either have a Vivre card or we have friends there waiting for us, but we're not following these arrows anymore. And she was told to do so ever since, the beginning of the journey, pre-time skip. Crocus said, if you follow these arrows, eventually these arrows just join together and all roads lead to one path. And so she asks Inuarashi, like, are we still on the same path here? And Inuarashi actually tells Nami that it doesn't really matter anymore. Okay, and it's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, we've been following this compass like since the start, and now you're telling us that it doesn't matter. So it's a little bit weird. But here's the thing, right? So Inuarashi says it doesn't matter if you follow them anymore, because if you follow those needles, if you keep on following that compass, that will eventually get you to a destination where you were supposed to learn something that you already know. So Inuarashi explains that typically what happens before Roger became the Pirate King is that people would follow the log pose to the end of the line. By reaching that destination, which by the way is not Raftel, okay? By getting to the end of the line, people would barely learn about the Poneglyphs and about this other map that existed that was scattered throughout the world. So it's like you get to that final point and you still have to go back. You still have to look out for these Poneglyphs and find the instructions about how to get to Raftel. So if you were to follow these needles, they wouldn't get you to Raftel. Only the 4 road Poneglyphs would get you to Raftel. And in fact, Inuarashi says that Roger actually had to do the whole thing over again because of that. He actually went to the end, he found out about the road Poneglyphs, and then he's like, okay, so now I need to decipher them, find a way of getting to Raftel. And so Inuarashi was telling Nami that the Straw Hats are lucky because they don't have to do that. They already know about the Poneglyphs, so all they need to do is follow that instead. However, we also know that Nami's goal is to draw a map of the entire world, so they might even just, pass by that location at some point on their way to Raftel, just so that she can, have that registered. Now here's the thing, all right? Roger could not read the Poneglyphs, and yet he reached Raftel. So how did he do that? Well, there's 2 ways he could have done that. The first one is, we know that he had the power to hear the voices of all things. It's like, is that some type of observation hockey that you can develop? I don't know. We don't know. But there's a second option to that about how he was able to decipher the Poneglyphs, and that's because Kozuki Oden, who happens to be Momonosuke's father, at one point traveled with Roger. And I'm bringing this up because I'm pretty sure it's going to be addressed in Wano at some point. The Kozuki clan are the people responsible for writing the messages on the Poneglyphs to begin with. So despite the fact that Wano has an isolationist policy about going in and out of Wano and remaining closed off to the rest of the world, Oden got very curious about the Poneglyphs, all right? And since the truth, the secret of the Poneglyphs is a secret that gets passed down from generation to generation within the Kozuki clan, Oden decided to go on a journey. And so he took Inuarashi and Nekomamushi with him, and at first they sailed aboard Whitebeard's ship, and then they later transferred over to Roger's ship. Now ask yourself this, why would he pick Whitebeard and Roger's ship? Well, to be honest, I think that it's because Oden wanted to travel the world as fast as possible. And given the fact that Roger and Whitebeard were 2 of the most powerful dudes at the time, the more powerful you are, the more mobility you have, in the world of One Piece, in the seas. And I think he wanted to travel the world because he wanted to find every single poneglyph that existed spread throughout. Now, the reason for why I think he changed ships, why he moved from Whitebeard's ship to Roger's ship, is because Whitebeard didn't want to go to Raftel. Whitebeard's dream was always to have a family, not to, decipher poneglyphs in order to get to Raftel and become king of the pirates. So I think that Oden, that's why he decided to go with Roger, just so that his knowledge would not be wasted, or it would serve Roger a lot more in his journey. Now here's the thing, Oden could have been an interpreter for Roger, and they could have gone back to read all the poneglyphs. And we know, in fact, that they were in Skypiea for sure, and they were also in Fishman Island, because Nekomamushi and Inuarashi specifically talk about being up in the sky and also being in an island, down in the depths of the sea where the sunlight reaches. So we know for a fact that they went to Skypiea and Fishman Island, and those 2 islands have poneglyphs in them. We also know that there's a bit of writing in Skypiea inscribed in gold, okay, and that was left there by Roger. Now you may ask yourself, wait a minute, if Roger couldn't read the poneglyphs, how was he able to write a message? Well, again, I think it's because Oden was there with him. Now the engraving, the message on the gold that Roger left says this, and I quote, it says, "I will carry this text to the ends of the world," which to me, I think the reason for why Roger left that message there is to offer people hope. Just as a way of saying, like, don't give up, you're on the right track. If you can read this, just keep going. This will be worth your while. Also, according to Shiki, Roger was also capable of finding an ancient weapon at some point. At least one. And we don't know which one of the 3 it was, but I want to direct your attention to the design of the Oro Jackson, which is Roger's ship. So this is the model of the ship. It's a toy model, but it is canon, the way that it looks. Now to me, there's three things that stand out to me from its design. The first thing is at the front. If you look at it, it has two mermaids. They're right on top of where the cannon is, right? And then you see a set of wings. Now these wings here, it's interesting because sometimes you see them on the ship and sometimes you don't. So maybe they just put these wings on the ship when they want to get to, like, you know, the sky, or, you know, Sky Island or whatever. And then you have this egg at the end there. And so initially I thought, okay, mermaids, wings, egg. Is this like a reference to something? Because at first I thought, what if each of these things symbolizes an ancient weapon? Like the mermaids could symbolize Poseidon. We know that Shirahoshi is in fact a mermaid, and she is an ancient weapon. The wings, we don't know what Uranus is, but we do know that Uranus used to be the god of the sky, so maybe that's what the wings represent. But then by method of elimination, that would mean that the egg represents Pluton. But we know that Pluton is supposed to be a warship, so maybe that doesn't work very well in terms of that connection. However, I've also seen theories of people stating that maybe the egg is supposed to be Shirahoshi, and just like a Pokemon trainer, Roger was apparently in charge of hatching Shirahoshi out of that egg. Now here's the thing about that. Before the Battle of Edwar, which is the battle where Roger confronts Shiki, we get a shot of the back of Roger's ship, and what used to be one egg apparently is now two. So you have two eggs by that point. But think about that. You got two mermaids, two wings, and now two eggs in the back. What kind of legendary Pokemon is Roger trying to hatch out of these eggs? So eventually Roger gets to Raftel, along with Rayleigh, along with Crocus, along with Oden as well. And we know that Inuarashi and Nekomamushi did not go to Raftel. They specifically said that they had not gone to Raftel. The way it was sort of described, it kind of felt like they started arguing about something. They had a disagreement and they just kept fighting and they couldn't find a resolution, and they went back to Zou and they split the night and the day, and they couldn't even talk to each other. And even now at this point in the story, we still don't know what caused that fight between the two of them. We can speculate and kind of sort of assume that maybe it was either Roger or Oden related. Now another major question about Roger that a lot of fans have is, did the Pirate King have a devil fruit power? And the short answer is, we don't know. We do know, however, that when Roger's crew found Buggy's devil fruit, which was the Bara Bara no Mi, Shanks specifically says that Roger, the captain, pretty much told the crew, if anybody wants to eat this devil fruit, go for it. All right. So to me, that says that Roger didn't care about the fruit, either because he knew what it was and he wasn't interested in that ability, or because he already had a devil fruit power, or because he really valued his ability to swim and he just wasn't going to give it up. That being said, what happens is that Buggy makes a fake devil fruit and he pretends to eat that fake devil fruit so that other people will be under the impression that the fruit is gone, so that he can go behind the crew's back and sell it at a very high price. However, there's this moment where he eats it where a crewmate asks Buggy, do you feel any different? And he's like, nope, I don't feel any different. And then they start saying, well, maybe it was just a fake. After all, we only heard about these devil fruit things through rumors. So if Roger actually had a devil fruit power at that point, it just wouldn't make any sense for his crew, the people aboard his ship, to be saying that they've only heard about devil fruits through rumors. But let me know what you think. Do you think Roger had a devil fruit? And if so, which one? I just hope it's not the Gomu Gomu no Mi, because that would just be so cliche. That would be painful to read and to find out. So anyway, Roger reaches Raftel, he becomes king of the pirates, and then in the time span of a year, he disbands the crew. He just tells them, guys, it's been good, it's been real, but you have to disband, you have to go your separate ways. And then after that, he turns himself in to the Marines. Now, what's interesting is that if you look at the scene where Roger is going to be executed, the only two people that were aboard his ship that are at the execution, as far as we know, are Shanks and Buggy. Rayleigh specifically states that he didn't go to the execution, which was very weird the first time he said that, because I was like, wait, what? Like, can you imagine like Luffy about to be executed and Zoro says like, yeah, I didn't go. And so there's a couple of scenarios that could have gone down that I think help explain why Roger's crew was not at his execution. The first one is that perhaps maybe Roger gave them a direct order, like captain's orders, do not show up All right, with the exception of Buggy and Shanks, nobody has my permission to show up at my execution, because if you show up, you're going to try and start a fight, you're going to try and save me, and I can't do what I'm supposed to do, which is, light this fire so that a brand new era can be born. Another possibility is that Roger could have turned himself in to the Marines and said, you know what, I'm going to turn myself in, you can execute me in public, it's fine, just don't harm my crew after I'm gone. Let's make a deal here. And so even though I'm pretty sure that his crew would have rather died fighting alongside him, died fighting to protect him, to respect Roger's wish, they stayed behind and they didn't go. Because if you kind of think about it, Roger kind of made a similar deal with Garp, all right? He made Garp promise that he would take care of Ace, his son. Another reason is that maybe Aim was so powerful at that point that Roger found out the truth about him, and he was like, you know what, as much as I would want to, I'm not gonna be able to overthrow this guy. I'm very short on time because of my illness. Like, I just won't have enough time to do it. So what I can do, though, is that with my last breath, with my dying words, I can create a spark. I can start guiding people with the truth so that hopefully somebody finds the One Piece, goes to Raftel, and after they find that treasure, they declare war against the world government. And as a somewhat related note to that, there's a point in Whole Cake Island when Big Mom says that Roger actually was able to decipher her poneglyph, and then he just left, he bounced. And I think a lot of fans interpret that as like Roger kind of running away. And it could very well be that Big Mom was super strong and Roger decided that it just wasn't worth the risk to engage in combat with her. At the same time though, given the context and the information that I've provided in this video, I think about it and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Like, it sounds like Roger was doing a speed run. He knew his time was limited and he was racing against the clock, so he just wanted to get in and out of Whole Cake Island as soon as possible. Just get that road poneglyph and then just be on his way. There's another point that I want to make that concerns Rayleigh, and it's a little bit dark, so bear with me. So when we get introduced to Rayleigh, Zoro actually asks him, how is it that you, a top tier, knows somebody like Hachi, the octopus from Arlong's crew? And Rayleigh says that Hachi actually rescued him at one point, 20 years ago, from being stranded on an island. So Hachi actually saved his life. And this wasn't like adult Hachi. This was like, sort of like young pup, just little boy Hachi. So imagine that. That's crazy, right? I mean, if you think about it, like the right-hand man of the King of the Pirates was saved by Hachi. Now, this isn't a new concept in One Piece. Like, Oda has made it like pretty apparent that pretty much every character in this series needs help at some point. But because it's Rayleigh, it kind of gets you thinking about, wait, hold on, what kind of an island was this that he was stranded on? What did Rayleigh do? What did he get himself into that it was so bad that Hachi had to come save him? It's crazy. Now, the thing here is that this whole thing happened after Roger was executed. Okay, so in my opinion, I think what happened is that Rayleigh was severely depressed. He even says it himself, that the day that Roger was executed, he says, and I quote, "I've never laughed, cried, and drank as much as I did that day." And so I think that he was depressed. And the thing that really gets me to believe that is that when Luffy comes back after his training and he says, Rayleigh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to become the king of the pirates. Rayleigh gets teary-eyed. Well, he gets teary-eyed thinking about Roger. But at the same time, he says this. He says, that straw hat really looks good on Luffy. And he says, I think I want to be able to live a little bit longer now. So I do think that maybe at one point Rayleigh was kind of like contemplating death after really feeling Roger's absence and sort of like thinking about what his purpose was without his captain around anymore. And then also at the bar, there's this scene where Robin asks Rayleigh, do you know the truth? Do you know what happened during the Void Century? Have you read all of the poneglyphs, essentially? Did your crew read all of the poneglyphs? And Rayleigh says, yeah, we found out the truth. But then Rayleigh also tells Robin, I would encourage you to not be so hasty and continue on this journey so that you find out what the truth is gradually. Because even though we know the truth, like our crew found out what the truth was, we came up with our own conclusion and our own approach. And maybe you'll come up with a different conclusion and a different approach. But you're not going to do that if I tell you what the truth is right now, because you're not ready for it. So it's more valuable if you find out the truth while taking this journey with your friends. And so I think ultimately what this boils down to is that even though Roger was this amazing man, all right, there was still work that he couldn't complete. And this is actually supported by something that Pedro says, which is, you know, I think Luffy and his crew are the people that we've been waiting for centuries. The people that will bring this new dawn to the world. And then finally, there's like this very awkward moment that takes place in Zou where Momonosuke actually claims that he met Roger when he was younger, even though Roger technically died 24 years ago. And Momonosuke is, as you can tell, a child, so it doesn't make a lot of sense chronologically. But I think that what this ends up doing is setting up a moment in Wano where we as readers find out something major about Roger that we didn't know before. That's going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you appreciated this video, I would highly recommend that you like it, give it a thumbs up, and if you did like it and you're not subscribed already, I would also encourage you to do that. Now, there's still a lot of mystery surrounding Roger and the Will of D, but I happen to think that because we're in Wano, the part of the mystery that includes the Kozuki clan will begin to get revealed fairly soon. But let me know, what is your current explanation to some of these mysteries concerning the life of the Pirate King, the Will of D, his journey, the ancient weapons, and the Poneglyphs? Let me know down below. Thank you. Bye.